Alright, we're back. This is 9 doors, 9 persons, 9 hours. I got it right this time. I am the Pixel Doctor. We gotta figure out this puzzle like your comment described. Okay. Oh, it's one of these. So, before we do that, so when I press one of the panels, the colors on the next one switches. The text here. All panels green equals unlock. Oh. 1 and 4 tenths will automatically reset after failure. So I have to get all the panels green less than 4 tries. Maybe I should run over. Okay, I know what to do. Now, I could try to figure this out on my own. I'm decent at these kinds of puzzles, but we have the answers already. If I understand it. Let's see. Clover's notes. Bottom right, top left, middle. Boom, easy. So you don't need the stuff in Clover, but it definitely helps. Did you hear a noise just now? Yeah, it did. It sounded like something unlocking. Where did it come from? Okay, look. Lights on the lockers are green. They must have unlocked it with the computer puzzles. Only one key in here. One small, one looks like it goes to some sort of machine. One has the Earth symbol on it. The Earth symbol matches the keyhole on the door in A deck. Now, if that's the case, we probably don't need the Earth key right now. Alright then, Earth key. I'll just tuck you away deep in my pocket. Now as for the other key. Just at this moment that he heard a voice behind him. It was Clover. Hey Junpei, do you have a minute? He put the puzzle aside for a moment and walked over to Clover. What's up? I wanted to ask you something. Junpei, you went through door 5 with my brother, right? Did you hear her say something like anything weird? Why did she asking me this? Junpei wondered. The more he thought about it, however, the more it made sense. Snake had been gone for a long time. Clover was quite attached to her brother. Of course, she would have said. Of course, she would have been worried about him. He thought back to when he had gone through door 5, hoping he might remember something, even a small something that would help her. However, sorry, Clover. Can't really think of anything. He did mention that his hearing exceeds that of a person or something like that, but that's about it. Okay. Clover's words were barely audible. She nodded vaguely to Junpei, turned and walked away. Hey, wait a minute. Look, I don't know if I should ask you things, but if you don't mind, I was hoping you could tell me if it's Snake, I mean, was he born? You're talking about his eyes? Yeah. No. He wasn't born blind. When he was a kid, he got in an accident. A really bad car accident. Couldn't see after that. His arm? Yeah. Or his left arm is, not like a normal person's arm. It's a fake. It's not a real arm. The accident hurt him real bad. To save him, they had to cut off his arm. Is that all you wanted to ask me? Our brother clearly had taken a great deal out of Clover. Junpei nodded. Look, I'm sorry. Made you talk about all that painful stuff. Clover only shook her head and walked off down the street. Stairs, I think it said. I read street. Anyway, we don't got time for that right now. This key. Make sure it's the shape. Sure makes it seem like it goes in the machine. All right, I'm turning it on. Okay, the monitor is now on. And it's full of letters. Showing some kind of warning. Power restored to experimental device. Emergency system will activate in the event of abnormal subject behavior. Okay. There's something sticking out of the mannequin's head, like wires or something. What the hell were they doing there? Oh, why'd y'all call it that? They were doing experiments on humans, probably. Oh man, that actually looks sad. Okay, this thing in here is on now. It that's because we activate the power on this side. Did you play with it a little? Okay. Yeah. Turn this knob here. Turn. I don't think it's worth it. Nothing happened. Oh, maybe she missed something. Let's go look around the room again. This is the monitor. There's a whole lot of cables underneath the table. It's a rack. There's some cables on top of the copper wire exposed. Laying on the exam table. Can't really see very well here, but it looks like there are a bunch of electrodes sticking out of his head. I wonder what they watched here. Weird color stains all over the sink. Let's go to the table already. Transfer the water, huh? There's nothing here. What is upstairs? I just came down? Or is the gates are above me? Increase the voltage? Roger, will do. Okay, I'm gonna do all the way max voltage. Max voltage, hey! Big clover. Ah, shit. What? I think, oh my god. Back in 10. Oh man, that sounds like a fire alarm. Yeah, what the hell? Fire detected, fire detected. Just something will be activated. Evacuate the room immediately. Lights for electron door locked. The green light is on. Okay, look at the light. Yeah, it's green. Our system has activated and disabled the lock. Now we can save close. Coupe! My kid, jump! She's safe. No man, that smoke's some serious business. Time to close the door again, I think. Clover, are you okay? Are you hurt? Yeah. Damn, she's coughing so hard she can't even talk. Of course I'm not alright. What the hell took you so long, you big jerk? I was almost dead. Sorry, I was going as fast as I could. You two can do this later. Right now, we need to get the hell out of here. Fire's not going to stay in that room forever. You found it. Junpei, Clover, and Lotus leapt out of the laboratory, slamming the door shut behind them. All three collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily. Junpei's heart was pounding in his chest, and his whole body felt weak. He inhaled gulps of clear air, and with each one, he felt his body begin to calm down. Alright, let's go. They nodded to each other and started down the hallway. Before long, they found new doors, but all of them were locked. Then they had tried all the doors but one. Found a door sat in the corner of the hallway. He grabbed the door handle, was about to pull it open when a voice cried out from behind him. It was neither Clover nor Lotus, but he recognized it. No doubt the voice that belonged to Jumpy. He spun around. There at the end of the hallway, Junpei saw human figures running towards him. Three of them. June, Santa, and Seven. They stopped short in front of Junpei and his companions, gasping for air. Hey, what are you guys doing in here? What? But we didn't... Before he could finish, Clover spoke. You guys, could you come over here? Standing near the end of the small hallway that branched off to the right. Kristen ran over to her, curious as to what she found. There was something on the wall at the end of the hallway. Of the ship's interior. That sea deck in the upper left corner. Most likely, they assumed it would be a map for the floor they were on. Door 7 and... Wait, the map refers they knew both doors eventually led into the hallway where they had found themselves. Fact. Yeah, isn't that what I said? Until we find door number 0 and get to split us up. Might get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we can't open door 9. That's how the nunnery game works. Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again. As he looked more closely, his surprise and excitement gave way to his awareness. One by one, the others saw what he'd seen. As one, they all moved back towards the door Junpei had Junpei had only a moment ago ready to open. He pulled the ship's interior off the wall, put it in his pocket, and followed the others. Desmond stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. He had to step forward. He took hold of the door and spoke without looking back at the other five. Ready? I'm gonna open it. Nodded and silent assent. The deep breath centered, threw open the doors. Gonna be back at the hospital. They poured through the doorway and into the room. Even without looking around, each one of them knew where they were. They were just where the map had led them, the same room they'd been in not so very long ago. Tremendous hospital, central hospital with empty beds from wall to wall. I see. I believe I understand what you're saying. All 6 of you split into 2 teams and went through doors 8 and 7, solved puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory, and then met one another in the hallway after opening your respective locked doors. It looked like anyone might after only just waking up, but it seemed like his brain was working as well as ever. He managed to grasp, summarize, and understand each team's report. At any rate, a little bit silly for showing my altruism. I'll show you be back for me. I did hope you'd come back, but I confess I did not think you'd be back so soon. He shook his head with a rueful smile. Well, we saw each other again. We ain't dead, so I say that's good enough. Seven smiled. Anyway, we gotta get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need. The key? As I just said, I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Here. Seven tossed on a small metallic key. He caught it and found that the object was a key. It had an engraved symbol similar to a 4. He looked over at June, who nodded back. It had to be the Jupiter symbol. I'm gonna let you hold on to that, alright? Yeah, got it. Oh, I've got something for you too, then. Here. It's the Saturn key card we found in the kitchen. You might lose it. It's probably better if you hold on to it. That way it won't be my fault. It gets lost. With that, she pressed it to Junpei's hand. He felt slightly less than honored. As a group, now they had 3 keys that had not been used. Earth key, which had been found in the laboratory. Jupiter key, which 7 had just handed to Junpei. And the Saturn key, which Lotus had just handed to Junpei. Junpei tucked away the new keys into his pocket and spoke up. The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of a long, straight hallway, right? Yeah. The map's right that it connects to the central staircase. Next to the stairs. Wait. They were the first words anyone had heard out of Clover in quite some time. Her face suggested that they weren't going to be very happy words. What about door 3? Look. You saw the map, right? There's door 7 of 8. It just leads back to the big hospital room. There's no point in seeing what's on the other side of that door. There is a point. At least there is for me. There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at 7 as hard as she could, just the same. But very much like a frightened puppy. There wasn't a man alive who could have resisted those eyes. 7 looked everywhere in the room except at Clover and muttered and coughed apologies under his breath. Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. The snake might be the other side of that door 3. Never nodded once. Next person to speak was Ace. Very well. I'll be coming with you then. I've had a nice long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So 7, you'll help me, won't you? Talk? Me? Trey did the calculations quickly in his head. 3. Looks like 7 was doing them too. At last he gave up. Damn, well I guess that's how it's gotta be. So I'm going with you, huh? Yes you are. Alright, let's get moving. Just side Clover. Ace 7 would discover what lay beyond door 3. Okay, we're heading out. Be careful. Oh, didn't think of hearing that from you, Lotus. Don't let it get to your head. I'll be in trouble with the 3 of you. The rest of us can't open the door 9. Ah, the truth comes out. The nod as if the answer made much more sense than pull the lever on the red. Don't die, you're gonna miss me. Okay, let's go. They're opened. Ace, Clover, and 7 jumped through. 9 seconds, the door closed noisily. Alright, we should get moving too. Huh? Get moving? Where are we going? Everyone except Lotus seemed rather confused. It'd be a waste of time to just sit around, wouldn't it? Let me explain. I get it. We're gonna see if we can get anywhere interesting with the Jupiter key. Yes. If we're lucky, we might find Snake. At the end of the long hallway, lined by individual hospital rooms. The Jupiter symbol was engraved in the keyhole. Alright, Junpei, open it if you please. Yeah, on it. Junpei pulled the Jupiter key out of his pocket and slid it into the keyhole. Listen. With a nice sharp click, he felt the door unlock. Alright, ready guys? Junpei's companions nodded. He knocked back and slowly and quietly opened the door. That was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like a ballroom, with the massive central staircase. Okay, back to the beginning. Sure, it's a good idea. What do you mean? Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we? I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here. Of course there's a reason. And sometimes I can't tell if you're smart or just lucky. Huh? This. Jupiter pulled 2 things out of his pockets. The Saturn key card. And the Earth key. Santa cocked his head on one side like an inquisitive bird and looked at them after several long moments, during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what cards meant. June took pity on him. Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck where we are now, there was that big elevator behind the stairs, remember? Next to the elevators, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. On A deck, on the door on the left. There was a keyhole and the Earth symbol on it, I think. The 2 key cards that Jumpy has should let us use the elevator and the door on A deck, huh? Yes, that's exactly right. June smiled, pleased with herself. So did Santa. Alright, I got it. Let's get started then. They say split up into 2 teams. Lotus and I will search the Earth one, and you 2 can search the Saturn one. Sounds good. Watch your back, Santa. She might stab you. Junpei handed the Earth key to Santa. Oh, I want to go that way. They decided the initial search should be brief, only 10 minutes. They beat back near the staircase only once they were done. Junpei and June headed for the elevator. Sure enough, the card reader bolted to the wall next to the left. Yes. He lined the Saturn key card up, swiped it down through the reader. A light on the upper left corner blinked to life. Great. Looks like it's working now. Alright, now how do we call the elevator? Single button on the right of the elevator door. On the button was the upside down triangle, the universal symbol for down. It didn't appear to be an up button. If I pushed it, he didn't have much of a choice. It opened. Look, Jumpy. June's voice was excited, but Junpei could hear a tinge of anxiety. Sweet, it opened. Let's get going. He grinned at June and stepped toward the open door. About to step foot in it, and he felt his hands on his arm. Oh, wait, what? I'm not really, I just... Oh gosh, Junpei was at something of a loss. What could she possibly be so frightened of? June was probably afraid of. Straight up because there was only the elevator button pointing down. That meant, of course, the elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on A or B decks near the central staircase, all of which meant that the staircase could only convey to the lower decks. The floor below the one they were on, D deck, should be completely submerged. That meant... Hey, wait a minute. The elevator came up somewhere under us, right? Well, yes, I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor-like noise, and it was moving, and then it opened. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Take a look inside. He jerked his head toward the interior of the elevator. It's not wet at all, is it? The walls, even the floor, are totally dry. Oh, you're right, they are. She looked around the elevator, slightly embarrassed. Well, let's test it. Test it? Yeah, watch this. Okay, put one foot in the elevator door and bent around the corner door until he could see the floor buttons. No, it's 2, E and C. pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut and they heard the grinding of the motors as the elevator car moved. Bye. I understand them testing this because, like, later they heard the sound of the elevator door grinding open several floors below. Junpei nodded to June and pressed the button. Elevator again. Elevator button again. A few minutes later, the elevator returned. The door slid open, and just as Junpei had expected, there was no water to be found. See? He couldn't resist puffing out his chest a little bit. June, however, still looked confused. What does that mean? How can the E deck be safe if the D deck is full of water? Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft at E deck must be watertight and separated from whatever ship's been punctured. Here, let me show you. Pull out his notebook and pen and sketch a rough illustration. See? This is why the ship hasn't sunk. The shape of the water, the shape of the inside keeps it all from filling with water. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. He continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his pocket. So I'm gonna go down and check it out. You stay here, alright? But come on, just do it, alright? Gave June Soldier a reassuring squeeze, then hopped onto the elevator. Pushed the E button and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darted back and forth as if she were trying to make a decision when suddenly... I'm coming with you. Huh? Last possible movement, June dashed forward, turning sideways just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors. Junpei slammed his finger against the open button, but it was too late. The door had shut, he and June were in the elevator. It was headed down to E deck. He was so surprised by June that he didn't even have the time to think about what awaited him on E deck. The elevator stopped, the door slid open. They stepped off into a floor outside the elevator. Nothing seemed especially unusual. No fish going about their fishy business or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. There was, however, a blowfish, or at least something that looked very much like one. June's cheek were puffed out and her mouth a tiny, intense frown. Oh, knock it off. It's just like I thought, this part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around, there's no water here. June looked around nervously, then... Ah! Exhaled. You're right. Not flooded at all. Oh, she was holding her breath. See? There's a whole lot of water... Yeah, right on top of us. What's going to happen if the ceiling breaks? You thought about that for a moment? We'd probably die. Oh no. Don't be so casual about something like that. At any rate, we should probably go back as soon as we can, once we're done looking around down here. Lois and Santa might already be back. Okay. Good idea. They glance around the room, they'd find themselves in. First thing that he noticed was a set of thick iron bars that ran the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right one. Well, you can't go over there. Right. But perhaps in the corner of the room that housed the elevator, Junpei found an opening. He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner. A long straight hallway stretched out in front of him. Right at the end of the hallway, there's something written on it. Let's go have a look. Junpei set off down the hallway at a brisk clip somewhere between a run and a jog. For long, they found themselves in front of a door. On it was a number in bright red paint. 6. Knew it. This is a numbered door. Intended... and indeed, there was a red bolted next to the door. Of course, with only 2 people, there wasn't much they could do with it. Alright, let's head back. Yes. Junpei and June turned and headed back to C deck. On the way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall. As it turned out, it was burnt. It was a burnt map of the ship's tier for E deck. Huh, so you guys found door 1. We went back up with Santa and Lotus, who had explained what they'd found. Apparently there was another numbered door on A deck, just like the one on E deck, beyond the doors of Earth Key. According to Santa and Lotus, there was one on the door. All told, they discovered 2 new doors. The 6th door and the 1 door. It was interesting that E deck wasn't flooded. This was quiet for a moment, lost in thought. And we didn't really know if all E deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator. Even so, it's still very interesting. You said the 6th door was there, right? Yes. That means Zero planned all this out. Even the 2nd. That would have meant something pretty serious. Would have meant some pretty serious modeling of the ship's interior. Pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Yeah. And how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost. Would have been a ton, that's for sure. Well, that does go along with what Ace was saying. The most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash. It does make sense. Thought made them all go quiet for a moment. She bit her lip while Lotus sighed softly to herself, and Santa cracked a stiff neck and stared off into the distance at nothing. I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here. June looked up at Junpei with large pleading eyes. Yeah, you're right. Ace and his team might be back already. Well, Junpei, I should be able to open door 1. Huh? Just leave me behind? Just kidding. Alright, let's go. Hostess words were impetus. All the back to the large hospital room they went. Yeah, we gotta get those guys back. The moment they stepped inside, a tremendous voice echoed across the room. Hey! Where the hell did you guys go? It was 7. Ace was right behind him, and Clover was behind Ace, although she seemed to be hanging back. It's as though there was something strange about them. 7 had a look of a man who had seen a ghost. Ace was just as pale, and Clover looked as though she was only moments from passing out entirely. For a long moment, they simply stood there, looking at one another. Junpei looked around nervously, waiting for someone else to speak. No one did. He looked at 7. What happened? What kind of question is that? 7 was trying very hard to be angry, but something had shaken him hard. His eyes were trembling, his voice was strained. Snake is... 7 couldn't finish. He looked away, his face twisted by Junpei, wasn't sure what. Instead, Ace spoke. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and spoke. Snake is... dead. He died, just as the 9th man did. It was as if the air had suddenly been sucked out of the room. Junpei felt his heart beat quickly, and he realized he was having trouble breathing. Feel cold sweat beating on his forehead and neck. June, Santa, and Lotus looked away. He felt all 3 are frozen in place, their faces white. Oh god. That's not true, is it? We should make sure. Yeah, right, we should. Now to one another, head to door number 3. Wait! It's not the way. Not that way. Stop short and turn to look at the 7. He was pointing at the door with no number. He stuck a screwdriver in there to keep the door from closing all the way. Not Marcy. Go in that way. Where is he? The shower room on the left side of the hallway. Put a broom in that too to keep the door open. Get in without going through the number door, right? Yeah, that's right. Destination. Junpei and his companions headed for the door with no number. Once in the hallway, it was easy to spot the metal door in the left wall. It hadn't been open when they'd been through before. But now, just as 7 had said, there was a broom stuck between the door and the frame to keep it open. They looked at it for a moment and then stepped inside. Look, it smells horrible. Lotus wrinkled her nose and covered her mouth in disgust. Even Santa pinched his nose shut. Yeah, this is pretty awful. I feel like I'm gonna puke. It's just as bad as they said, perhaps worse. The hideous smell filled the air so thick that they could almost taste it. It was sour, the smell of fish, feces, and burnt meat. It worked its way through Junpei's nose and down his throat and found against the entrance to his stomach. He put his hands over his mouth and struggled to keep what little was in his stomach where it belongs. Didn't have to wonder where the body was. There was blood everywhere. A few arms of the splatter reached towards them as they walked through the door. All one of them had to do was follow the main radio arm for the source. By itself was hidden behind a divider. June, you should stay here. But please, just do me a favor, okay? Alright? He didn't give her a choice to say no. He put his hands on his shoulder on her shoulder as if to say to shove her to the ground like a tent pole. Tent pole turned and walked toward the end of the divider. It felt like it took an eternity for him to get there. Santa and Lotus followed him, timid and nervous as a pair of children. Eventually they reached the divider. They looked at one another and nodded slowly. Junpei put his hands on the divider and peered around the corner. For a moment he forgot to breathe. He felt his heart collapse in his chest like the empty cigarette carton, and time froze. He knew that this was the last instant he would take the image before it. What was left of the body sat a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. A vast, ragged hole that had been torn into the torso, and what remained of the intestines spilled out like just fresh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the walls, even as they dried to it. Just like Ace said. Santa's voice was strained. Junpei suspected he was holding down some vomit of his own. Just like the knife man. The detonator on his bracelet set off the bomb in his gut. It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in odd, unnatural ways that his left arm had split open, exposing the painful white bone of his ulna? I don't know. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces. Half of his head was simply collapsed, and the blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. His clothes too were covered in blood. A burgundy tie, the white shirt, and the jacket with the yellow piping and the gray slacks. They're all familiar to Junpei. No mistake about it, that's Snake. Lotus's voice was unnaturally deep and strained. Junpei heard it catch in her throat. Squeal tortured metal made Junpei's teeth curl. It sounded like the noise of a ghost would make. No matter how many times he heard it, he never got used to it. Every time he put him on edge. Didn't help that there was a girl nearby who looked far more like a ghost than a living human should. It was Clover. She sat on the edge of the bed, her head drooping listlessly onto her chest. Her eyes were blank and stared across the room at nothing. Her breathing was slow and mechanical. Time for a rise fall of her chest, she didn't move. Junpei felt as even a nudge might cause her to shatter into 1,000 pieces. Snake was probably murdered.